Hello, welcome to a video where I'm going through an Amber run of mine in a tournament hosted by PokerRace. It was a seven rounder with a price of like $50, I believe, for first prize, and it was quite stacked. The teams I was running, basically, the hardest meta is Hisuian Quillfish, Poliwrath, Piloswine, Charizard. You see those on basically about every team, and you don't even need other Pokemon. Galvantula is supposed to be the magnificent core breaker that beats fighters, Poliwrath, Charizard. I'm also running Energy Ball to make it the ideal safe swap because Piloswine feints to a few Volt Switches and an Energy Ball. Your sixth pick could be any electric type like a Zapdos. Maybe you want a fighter like I did. I had Cross Chop, Ice Punch, Primeape, Ice Punch basically for Gligar really. And obviously Gligar itself is a pretty good pick too. Let's take a look at my first matchup here against Nate Dog, who's running more of a spicy team. I won this matchup 2-1 here, and we're not going to see that Hunch go a little much, really, even though I don't hate them as picks, really. But really, since Charizard's Wing Attack buff, it really took over this meta even more. At first, I didn't think it was as dominant. Like, Pokemon like Runeri's used to be really good at first, but yeah, with the Wing Attack, Charizard is just like mandatory. Poliwrath versus Quillfish is pretty good because your charge moves hit really hard and their charge moves take a while to get to. And they actually swap in Charizard into my Poliwrath. I will get 2 Scalds here that I want to get off because they almost one-shot. No debuff, unfortunately. It's only 30% on Scald. You can also opt for Ice Punch on Poliwrath, but I find Scald just way more useful for opposing Charizard and Dynamic Punch for the mirror mostly. But Ice Punch covers the Gligar just a little bit better. Still not really that much of a winnable matchup though. They come back in with Quill. We'll get to another move. This is actually not a smart play to throw Scald here because Scald does less than Dynamic Punch. Dynamic Punch will KO from here. Scald barely does not. I get the attack drop, which is nice, I guess, but not as mandatory because this already looks quite solid. Ice Beam on Quillfish is pretty good, simply to one-shot opposing Gligar, but also not needed. I'm running Sludge Bomb. Sludge Bomb's probably the inferior move to run because Shadow Ball does slightly more, and the first Shadow Ball is the same amount of Poison Jabs needed for that charge move. On top of that, Quillfish usually just doesn't live long enough to get the 2 Shadow Balls, so or to 2 charge move, because 2 Sludge Bombs. The second Sludge Bomb is 7 Poison Jabs. Well, the first one's 8, and for Shadow Ball, it's 8. It's straight 8. But you never get to charge move, two big charge move with Quillfish because it's just too fragile. So I would recommend Shadow Ball just on the Quillfish, really, but I have to stick with Sludge Bomb for this tournament. Fourth, BTN is running triple Flyer here, so quite weak to Piloswine. It's really only he has 2 answers for it. I find fighters myself a little bit risky to run because there's also always Charizard everywhere. And you bet I'm using Charizard because it's just too good. I'm using my Gelf lead. It's actually also pretty decent against the Zapdos. So basically that's what I'm also covering with it. But I also need to bait out the Zapdos. Honestly, at this point, Zapdos in the back would be already a major problem. A major problem. Leaf Blade is shielded here. It would do a big chunk. I know this matchup very well from when Galvantula was meta in Open Great League, and I used Surfetch during that time. Sneaking a full Volt Switch through, I survived this, which is nice, but I need my shield in case there is that Zapdos in the back. Gonna swap in the Charizard to potentially bait it out, but they answer with the Poliwrath, which is fine. Within the 1 shields, my wing attacks add up just enough, and I will take this matchup here very cleanly. Might even be able to just wing attack this down. Obviously, I haven't taken any false move damage here, so I'm just gonna shield this, have a full Charizard, which is very fine. If they debuff me, I have to throw, but I don't, so I get the complete farm down here. And then Piloswine is in the back. I can just go straight Blast Burn here, and this is very much over already because Charizard with energy is just so good. It really feels like the starter it kind of should be, right? Like Swampert is super good with Hydro Cannon. Venusaur is so good with with Frenzy Plant. Now finally Charizard has Blast Burn and it serves it very well. So that was also 2-1 victory. Zubso has a Gligar and Primeape as well. Primeape really doesn't seem as reliable, or fighters in general, just because of Charizard is lurking somewhere. And on top of that, Primeape can't one-shot Charizard with a Rock Slide like Machamp does. So in hindsight, I would definitely opt for Machamp instead of Primeape here. Poliwrath lead into the mirror. So I have a strategy to play this one out, especially if I have Piloswine in the back. Because what I like to do here is throw one Dynamic Punch. My opponent doesn't throw immediately, which is annoying because I now don't know if I win CMP or not. But my Poliwrath usually is a little bit attack weighted, so it has like 5 attacks, so it should be fine to win CMP often. We got Dynamic Punch as well, and now I'm actually gonna throw the Scald. Why is that? If they catch, they either Scald to the face, unlike that Charizard or that Gligar. And if they no-shield, I can actually Power Snow this down. If they shield it, I can Wing Attack it down. So basically, that's my strategy that comes with the Poliwrath mirror. Because if Poliwrath's in the lead, it's usually the hardest answer to Piloswine, and Piloswine should be very clean in the back at that point. In comes Charizard. Yes, it's a fire type, but Avalanche also does about 75% to this Charizard, so you kind of have to shield this. It's never a Stone Edge really, because no one is mad enough to run that, simply because then you get hard walled by Poliwrath. You kind of need high horsepower, really hard hitting charge move to hit the opposing Poliwrath. It does like 55% to Poliwrath, which is a really nice chunk. There's only a Dragon Claw. I'm kind of expecting the Gligar in the back, since they throw that out of... I felt like they were panicking just because they had to get rid of my Pilo, but since I have so much energy, I'm going to go straight for this Avalanche. It does about 50%. If they let it go, I can go straight Dragon Claw. If they shield it, I just Blast Burn with my Zard, and it should be very much game over at this point, because Charizard just paces much faster to those Dragon Claws. It should be a very clean win. You can see this, the same Pokemons are used over and over in Amber, just because they are the only ones you need. You need Poliwrath, you need Charizard, Piloswine, sometimes Quillfish to break the RPS, but it doesn't always win its matchups. So there's that. My next matchup, Innobloom, a really good player from, I believe, either Australia or New Zealand. I can't remember very well which one it was. My bad if you're watching Innobloom. He has a Venusaur. Innobloom, I think it's a very bad grass type, to be honest. I don't know what the niche is of it compared to like Trevenant, because Trevenant as a grass type is like at least one shots, like almost one shots like Charizard, whereas Venusaur, like Charizard doesn't care as much about one sludge there. And they're both walled by Hisuian Quill, so I think that the that Trevenant is just a little bit better than Venusaur is here. Let's take a look at this matchup here against Innobloom. What happened in my first game against Innobloom is that I was panicking in my head, like, wait, I have the charge move, wait, I don't, no, I do, yeah, no, wait, and then I forgot to throw it in the end, which lost me the first battle. Say swapping my Galvantine Lair, and this is the time to throw and land an energy ball. So I haven't, until this moment, I haven't landed an energy ball yet, because I always, they either get shielded, because people think that I have it after I shielded my Galvantula, or they no-shield the bait. Like that. And it would have been perfect, because at this point, after these volt switches, the energy ball would have KO'd, and I would have flipped switch, even though that doesn't do much for me. And Innobloom was playing out of his mind during these battles. It was just very tough to overcome, and I didn't play as well anymore. I was completely thrown off, and he was making perfect advantage of that, playing very well. I don't know why I'm double shielding here, to be honest. The thing is, now that I double shielded, the Poliwrath just wrecks me. This basically leaves my Zard very vulnerable, so it's not a smart play. Maybe I should have farmed down with Zard here, because it just paces faster with charge moves. Although if they come with something else than Poliwrath, then Poliwrath still cleans up both Piloswine and Zard. So this is basically the result that can happen. Look at the damage, by the way, it's really good damage. And they blind swap. I know that we've seen P here. He's also counting very well, so I catch on Charizard. But I'm in a tough spot anyway, because if I need to like throw Dranclaw and farm down, hopefully CMP, but I know that this is not even a farm down range. if I land this Dranclaw. If I CMP here, land the Dranclaw, I don't think I could even farm down with Pilot Swine, so really no point. I have an Avalanche stored, doesn't matter though, that Poliwrath also had a move or was very close to move, so well played by Innobloom. I actually got 3 out here. Definitely felt a bit salty because I didn't throw my own move in my first game. It really threw me off. And he just played very well. My 5th round against Vicious Skills, who also has a Trevenant and double flyer here. Let's take a look at how that goes. He has Galvantula covered pretty well. I even played ABA against Galvantula at some point against him. Because I just didn't care. I just didn't expect the Trevenant either. He safe swaps his Hisuian Quillfish. It's a really good safe swap against my Galvantula. I'm gonna go straight for that dynamic punch here to make sure I get as much damage as possible. Maybe should have thrown Skull though, just because that already does enough damage to farm this down. The thing is, if he has Spider Swine in the back, I don't even want Switch here, right? Because I just want to Energy Ball that. He baits me here, which is fine, but we will CMP on the next one if he goes straight Shadow Ball here. So. But that's fine. I can get a lot of energy on my Galvantula or decide to throw. Quillfish is quite fragile, so my Volt Switches are going to do a lot of damage, but so do their poison jabs. I'm already almost down at... I am going to get down to half HP. Now here's one thing. If they have like Charizard Poliwrath, yes, my Galvantula is a core breaker, but also I can't hit them with my charge moves. I really... After playing all these battles with Galvantula, I do not recommend this moveset. Throwing another Volt Switch to make sure he knows that I see what's in front of me and not blind throwing. No shields regardless. Gonna go for another one. CMP on the Dragon Claw. This is very fine for me because this leaves him in a very nice farm down range, but he decides to shield that. And that's actually somewhat necessary in case he has that Poliwrath in the back. And I know it is going to be Poliwrath because he brought in the Zard back into my Gelf. But since I have a shield advantage, it should be very fine. If I get debuffed, I might have thrown both a Blast Burn and a Dragon Claw. But I don't, so now if I CMP on the last move, maybe throw even one before just to be safe, right? If he survives 1 HP, I can just throw another Dragon Claw to be safe here. But it does KO. And then one of another Blast Burn. This will take out the opposing Charizard. So despite 3... Gal only having 2 answers, 2 targets there, really did what it needed to do. But again, if I had Discharge, it would have been just much better there. Another Trevenant team, this time with a Zapdos here instead of the Gligar. This means that my Galvantula looks just a little bit better here. Let's take a look at these battles. Because Galvantula is pretty fine against Zapdos. Again, I miss Discharge really. That would be much better against Zapdos, but Volt Switches just add up so much. Their Thunder Shocks are resisted, so that should be very fine. Though they won't do much damage. The first Drill Peck though, when I'm debuffed, actually does like 35%, so that's not great. Let me take a look where this battle actually starts, because they were waiting a long time. Leading my Poliwrath into their shiny Zapdos. And say swapping right into Galvantula. And they actually have that Trevenant with them. I did not expect that. I'm running ABA against the Trevenant, so I'm somewhat lucky to see it here. But my Poliwrath just has nowhere to go, really. They're gonna go straight for the Shadow Ball if they want to get the KO here. I'm going to shield it, because I want to shield back, and then maybe get a farm down with something. Because I'm very positive it's going to be something like Poliwrath in the back, because they need to cover the Pilot Swine very well at this point. I'm playing AB against Trev, they're playing ABA against my Pilot Swine. If this Seed Bomb, it doesn't KO yet because he's double debuffed. I actually survived 1 HP. I actually built a new Galvantula pretty recently. I believe for one of my first faction matchups. In comes Zapdos again. Now I have my Pilot Swine on it, which is a very fine matchups. I believe 2 Drill Packs barely don't KO. They do a lot though. In comes Charizard. Gonna throw an Avalanche first before swapping, because this does so much damage. And now he kind of has to shield here. But he doesn't. And now I'm just going to farm down completely. Can't really bring in my Poliwrath in here because it doesn't have any fast move pressure. It's just gonna take a lot of wing attack damage. This is kind of not optimal because they will get to no draw back, and if they outpace to a Thunderbolt on my Poliwrath, I just lose still. So I have to do something fancy here. Gonna catch a drill pack, which does way less than the Thunderbolt. They farmed only one up. So they have, if they throw like immediately, they need about 3 more, I believe, for the next drill pack. And this might just be perfect because I'm 2 off my next one, and that wins me the battle. So that's a very tough game there. It was a little bit hard countered, but also not really, because Charizard wasn't as difficult to manage. But they did not really have an answer for my Pilot Swine there, even though they had it in the position that they needed. I also won that round 2-1, and my last round, I'm 5-1 at this point, is against France with a Z, who's also running Galvantula. Basically the same team, except that he has a Machamp over a Primeape. Let's see how that goes. In the first game, I believe he did run that. I'm leading my Pilot Swine into a Galvantula, which is a superb lead for me. Let's see what he says. So probably the Charizard, which I kind of predict here. So Pilot Swine outpaces to the first charge move here, because their first Blast Burn is 7, wing attack standard will be 6. So I throw an Avalanche, then dip. Poliwrath doesn't really have to shield all of these moves, and the odds of them baiting my Poliwrath is just much smaller. So I thought I was shielding that. Well, I guess not. Scald coming in. If they want to keep that Charizard, they have to go 2 shields down right off the bat. One problem about this though is that they just farm me down. So it's not optimal. It really is not. Pilot Swine, I'll throw it back in, and my plan here is to just sweep with Charizard. It has 2 shields. They actually bait me here, which is quite convenient. They, I think another Dragon Claw might almost kill me here, to be honest. I actually could have reached the... I only notice this now. I think I could have reached the Avalanche there. This is kind of uncomfortable, because the one thing that's annoying here is that they have a lot of energy and they get to so many moves here. I know this is a Dragon Claw, so I don't shield this. Galvantula cannot really come in here simply because it gets one shot. They actually keep that Charizard with 1 HP, it's very fine. I just have to make sure that I come out with a lot of energy here for that Galvantula, and then I should be able to win this game. I still have a shield for the Scald here if they throw that, which is fine. I prioritize my energy over my HP at this point, simply because I, again, need to one-shot a Galv. Having the shields and no HP does not help against Galvantula. I have 2 Blast Burns at this point, which I will throw back to back, and that should very easily win me this battle. 2 shield Charizard is just very strong. That actually did 100% on the Galvantula, and that yeah, that just does it for me. Charizard is just a little bit way too dominant in this meta. Anyway, hope you liked the video. Hope it was helpful for you. A little bit of insight maybe in how I play it. I'm not that big of a fan of the meta. I also don't really hate it. Maybe it would have been better without Charizard. I don't know. Anyway, I hope you liked the video and have a good one.